Now, the Democratic Alliance has launched a court application against the ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula. This over the party's failure to make its cadre deployment records public following a court order. The Supreme Court of Appeal this month dismissed an attempt by Mbalula to appeal the ruling from the Johannesburg High Court that the records must be handed over to the Democratic Alliance. The opposition says Mbalula is undermining the right of South Africans to access that vital information. Let's speak now to ANC Spokesperson Mahlengi Bhengu-Motsiri for more on this. Thank you so much for your time, Mahlengi. We do appreciate it. The Democratic Alliance argues that the ANC is in contempt as you continue to, what the DA is saying, hide your cadre deployment records. Do you believe that the ANC is in contempt?
Well, the ANC is not in contempt, Heidi. The ANC has filed papers, and the ANC also did receive the allowable condonation application. And so as we speak, our papers are with Concord. I do think that the DA did jump the gun on this one. And so there are no prospects of our Secretary General being jailed because we have done exactly as instructed by the courts.
Did you miss a deadline, though, as the ANC to submit those documents to the Constitutional Court, or was it submitted on time?
It is not an unstandard practice for anyone that wants to file with Concord to ask for a day or two of condonation. And we did exactly that. As I say, I think that was very preemptive on the part of the DA. There is no story to that. The next thing that we're going to be focusing on is defending our position in the highest court of the land. And the ANC has got every right to exhaust all available legally avenues to exploit this matter further, to ventilate this further within the confines of the rule of law and our constitutionalism.
I'd like to ask you if you could maybe just, if you can, indicate to us why you did ask for an additional day or two in terms of submitting your documents to the Constitutional Courts. Is it just that you needed more time to gather your information, or what was the reason for that?
Standard practice, consulting various legal resources within the ANC as well as independent counsel, standard practice for anyone that is going to the Constitutional Court. Honestly, nothing untoward about that.
Okay. Mahlengi, I'd like to ask you why you found it imperative as the ruling party to go to the highest court in the land to not disclose the records of cadre deployment.
Well, we want to be afforded an opportunity that should, by right, afforded to any juristic person in this country. Our democratic architecture allowing, our Bill of Rights allowing, and there's nothing that should stop the ANC from exhausting all available avenues. That's a standard thing. A debate about cadre deployment is a debate that has got to be had, and we're more than happy to engage in that battle of ideas around cadre deployment, what cadre deployment according to the ANC parlance is, and what cadre deployment according to the ANC is not. And we've noted a lot of weaponization of the term cadre deployment. But I will have you know that it may be called cadre deployment in the ANC. It's cadre deployment by one name in the ANC, but we have cadre deployment by other names across political parties in South Africa. I may just remind you about a Marietta Ocamp in the city of Tshwane, a person without a matric, earning a salary of over R1 million to be the chief of staff in the office of Mayor Solim Simang. I may just remind you about a bodybuilder who only had a bodybuilding certificate, appointed as an executive director during the same tenure in the Tshwane administration. So if we must actually have a conversation in a debate about where the DA governs, you will have to tell me what that is in the DA lexicon. We are happy to have that kind of a discussion across society, and we're happy also to look at the performance of the ANC-led government in as far as how it has implemented all of its policies, including this one. And so that's a conversation that we're really happy to have. We do stand by the policy of the ANC. We believe that any party that receives the support by the people of South Africa has got a responsibility to have those people that are going to advance the cause of transformation and not work against the electoral mandate that gets received when people go voting. But the conversation that we must have.
Sure, I respect that, and I do understand that there might be a different term or phrase used when it comes to cadre deployments. But I'm sure South Africans watching are looking at this and going, but why does the ANC not want to disclose its cadre deployment records? Could you maybe just give us an indication as to why you don't? Because if you are aware of the fact that that does happen in most political parties, and as you've just mentioned, if it is for the advancement of transformation and for the betterment of South Africans, whether it's cadre deployments or not, why would you not want that disclosed? What's the secret?
Well, I'm not able to go into that detail, Heidi, at this point. You would appreciate that much of our argument is contained in our papers and in what we're going to be advancing in Concord. And so at this point, I'm not going to go into anything that's going to preempt the conversation that will take place at that required level.
Okay, but can you acknowledge, Mahlengi?
There is absolutely nothing secretive about how we identify ANC, even non-ANC members, South African patriots that can serve government in various capacities. And much more of that still has to be done. And our emphasis has always been who we deploy must be somebody that is suitably qualified, suitably experienced, have the right ethics and standards. And where we have not done well, those are the things that the ANC must contend with.
Okay, but
that is our cadre deployment policy.
Sure. So you've just said something that, the finding the most suitable person, you must acknowledge, and perhaps you can just elaborate on this, that there's a lot of anxiety. You are the ruling party. We cannot take that out of the equation. And there's a lot of anxiety among South Africans that often cadre deployments in certain instances might not be for the betterment of this country, for the betterment of whatever position a cadre has been deployed to. And that's probably why South Africans are going to be watching this with very keen interest to understand the decision around cadre deployment, because we've seen these corruption cases, we've seen these so-called cadres placed in certain positions that sometimes don't work out for the betterment of South Africans or this country.
For example, the ANC has already said in its organizational renewal message and in the president's several messages, including the January 8th message, that we are concerned about, for example, some of the quality or lack of those that are heading up certain municipalities. And this is something that is receiving urgent attention. And so we, like South Africans, cannot stand here and say that there have not been challenges with aspects of the selections and recruitments. Whether those, in fact, I would go as far as saying not all of those appointments across the state constitute cadre deployment. There are many South Africans who land these positions on the strength of their own credentials. And similarly, the ANC must always make sure that whoever is deployed to go and serve the people of South Africa, not the interests of the ANC as a party per se, but the interests of democracy and transformation, are the people that meet the master that I've just alluded to earlier on. So we're not sitting here and defending what has not been done right. Corrective measures have got to be in place. I also do wish to say, though, Heidi, that we've got some of the most excellent and qualified directors general in this country, senior managers in government. And the picture is not just a one-line picture. We've got to look at this when we have this conversation, but really have a sense of balance as well.
Okay. I would like to just end off quickly, Mahlengi, around when this matter will actually be in the Concord. Do you have a date as yet?
I have not been apprised of that, but I'm certain that our legal team will advise us, and that is something that we will share with South Africans.
Okay, thank you so much for your time this evening. We do appreciate it. That is the ANC National Spokesperson, Mahlengi Bhengu-Motsiri.